Wake that ass up
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the phone line right now, Byron Allen. Welcome back, brother.
How you doing? So good to see you.
How are you quarantining out there?
My quarantine, we're coming along okay. You know, up until about a week ago, I had a full-on beard. I'd never grown a full-on beard, so it was nice to see if I could do it. And I'm happy to announce I can get a full-grown beard.
What about the top, though? What about the top, though?
Well, that's why I had to cut. I had to cut because my kids started heckling me. My kids are like, "Daddy, you have bald spots. You got bald spots. You're an old man." Look at that. And that was it. When they saw the bald spots up here and in the back, they were like, "Oh, Daddy." And then the only compliment I got was, "Oh, Daddy, you got a bald spot like LeBron James."
Wow.
Hey, let me tell you what
I like that you're still getting dressed every day too. You got the nice button up on and everything.
Oh yeah, well let me tell you, the first month that was not happening. After 30 days, I was like, okay, you gotta shave and you gotta get dressed. Even if you go to the front door dressed.
I haven't gotten to the shave yet because my dad never taught me how to shave, but I'm at the point where my hair is growing out and my hairline is definitely socially distancing from my forehead. But our friend Tiffany Haddish told me to put Monistat 7 and Jamaican castor oil in my hair for the bald spots. And I think I might be seeing some progress.
All right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that one. Yeah, because I definitely have one on the back.
Well, Byron, I'm really excited
for that you're working on.
Yeah, I'm really excited for your fundraiser because this looks like it is going to be a hilarious one for us to all be watching.
Yeah, this comedy fundraiser. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the Feeding America Comedy Festival. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on because this is something that's very important. Feeding America is an amazing organization. This organization is run by a very smart woman. She's a sister named Claire. Claire is a lawyer, and she used to work at Walmart. And she was one of the key executives at Walmart that was the point person for Feeding America. And Feeding America is the largest network of food banks around the country. And they provide meals to families all over the country for as little as 10 cents a meal. So, $10,000 can buy 100,000 meals. And unfortunately, she was diagnosed with cancer and she was, she had to do some self-reflecting and she decided to do something very philanthropic with her life. She left Walmart to run Feeding America. And I reached out to her to see how we can help. I've had her quite a few times on our network, the Weather Channel, and she said, look, we have three big challenges right now. Number one, we have enormous, pressure on people needing our services. That's gone up, almost 100%. Number two, we have a lack of support. The support has decreased because a lot of their food was coming from supermarkets that were going to throw food away, was going to go to waste. But because the shelves are empty, she doesn't have that situation anymore. And then the third one was a lot of their volunteer workforce was 70 years and older. So they got hit with three real hard punches. I said, what can we do to help? I'm here to help. I said, let's raise you some money, get the word out that if people need your services, you're there. Get the word out that if people are able to donate, please do. And also get the word out if you're able to volunteer and you feel comfortable volunteer, they need your services because we're all seeing the video of people in their cars, American families in their cars for 8 hours trying to get a box of food. And sometimes they don't even know if that box of food will be there. So about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in the backyard and I was sitting with my mobile phone and I said, you know what? I'm going to do the Feeding America Comedy Festival. And I started calling all my comedy friends. And, so I called Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish and Billy Crystal and Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and Eddie Murphy and on and on and on. And everybody said yes. And within 3 hours, we had booked all these amazing comedians who said, let's do something. They said, what do you need? I said, let's just, make something in your home, in your backyard, in your kitchen, whatever you want to do. Tiffany Haddish is going to co-host it with me and Kenan Thompson and Billy Crystal. Tiffany is hilarious. She's doing cooking with Tiffany in her kitchen. Kenan is at his home and with his wife and kids. And Billy Crystal is outrageous, one funny man. everybody just brought their A game, and everybody's going to do something from 1 to 5 minutes. And we're going to raise a lot of money for Feeding America and have a lot of laughs and a lot of fun while doing it.
Okay. Listen, let me ask you a question, Byron. If you was producing this show and it was an actual, live show where everybody could be together, how hard would it be to get all these people in one room?
That's a great question. It would be impossible. All these comedians, I mean, the list goes on and on, from everybody from Will Smith to Will Ferrell and Jack Black coming through and George Lopez. I mean, to get all these comedians together, it would be almost physically impossible because everybody's doing it through their mobile phones and devices from all over the country. And it's fun. It's interesting. It's something we've never seen before. People, in their homes, working with their families, their kids are, they're running the equipment, running the iPhone or whatever. It's something very special. And the comedians are so excited to be able to help and contribute. And they have a lot of pent up creative energy and they want to release it. And I have to tell you, some of the stuff I'm seeing is not only hilarious, some of it is just simply genius.
Wow. Byron, where can people watch also? Because I know it'll be streaming in several different places, also NBC. So where can people watch?
Once again, thank you. It's this Sunday. It's Sunday, May 10th on Mother's Day at 7 p.m. From 7 to 9. It's on the Weather Channel. And it's also on NBC. It's on comedy.tv and the free streaming service, because there's a terrific free streaming service that we have called Local Now. So you can download the app. It's absolutely free, and it provides you local news, weather, sports, and traffic. Up to date, it gives you updates on COVID-19, and you can watch the special on Local Now as well.
Thank you.
Byron, let me ask you a couple more questions before we get out of here, just to switch gears a little bit. I know you had the racial discrimination.
And listen, I have plenty of time. I have absolutely nowhere to go.
Okay.
And nobody will see me. And nobody
I like the
me,
branding in the background.
Or the Weather Channel in the background.
I'm just watching. Oh yeah, I'm just watching it. I'm just always waiting for breaking news. So there's nobody as a matter of fact, I think you're the only ones who will even talk to me. That's how much social distancing we have.
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding.
You ain't got no friends then. You ain't got no friends, Byron.
Byron,
hey, listen, man. When you have a pandemic, very few people have friends. They like, stay away from me. Yeah, I got friends afraid to talk to you on the phone.
Now, Byron, yes. Unfortunately, you lost your racial discrimination case in the Supreme Court. What does that mean to you?
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to bring clarity to that. The Supreme Court never ruled on our case. The Supreme Court was never looking at our case. What was asked is that the Supreme Court take a look at the Civil Rights Act of 1866 and how it should be applied and interpreted. So what the Supreme Court decided was 9-0, that this is the way to read the case. It is the highest level of standard. And then what the Supreme Court did is they sent us back to the Ninth Circuit, where we did prevail. But what people don't know, when we filed our lawsuit, we used the highest standard because we always assumed that the Supreme Court or any court would make you go to the highest standard. So when we filed our lawsuit, it was always at the highest standard. And the Supreme Court basically confirmed, used that standard, and then sent us back to the Ninth Circuit. So our case is not over, and we didn't lose. All the judges said was, go over here to this court, use this standard, which is what Byron used, and go another 15 rounds. And so we're well prepared and already trained to go another 100 rounds. But thank you for bringing that up. We definitely did not lose, and we're back in a court that I think is extremely friendly towards us and once before ruled in our favor.
Got you. I think they said too that your team wasn't able to prove the but for and racism or something like that.
Yeah, that's the highest standard. Motivating factor or but for. Did you discriminate against Charlamagne 100% because he's Black versus a certain, a 40% because he's Black? So what the Supreme Court said is, now Charlamagne has to prove it was 100%. Well, that's how we filed our lawsuit to begin with, because we never expected a level playing field. We never walked in there thinking that we were, at a place where it would, the the ball would bounce in our favor. So we always filed our case at the highest standard.
I see the narrative and all the headlines makes it. I see the narrative and the headlines makes it seem like it was a setback for you, though, because that's what the way the story I feel like has been painted. Like, oh, this case has been bumped back. Byron Allen faces a setback. You think that's by design?
You know what? That's the media. Sometimes they don't innately understand it. What I would say is stay tuned and let's see what the final outcome is, and then we can determine whether it was a setback. But something tells me that I'm gonna do okay.
Word. Now, Byron, you once were critical of President Obama. You said that he didn't do anything for Black people when he was in office. We have a presidential election coming up. Last week, Diddy told everybody that the Black vote isn't free. And, if there's no Black agenda and certain demands aren't met, then he's going to hold the vote hostage. What did you think of that?
Well, listen, I think our vote is very valuable. I think our vote is something that is to be cherished and respected. And I think it's important that we vote. I think especially now, we must vote. And, I'm a big, at this point, I'm a supporter of Biden. And I would love to see Biden pick a female as his vice president. And I would love him to take a good look and please consider someone that is African-American. So I want him to pick an African-American female. That's important to me because I think that is something that, he has a great opportunity because there are a number of African-American females that are qualified and would do a great job. And I think that vice president will end up being president. So I think it's important that we campaign Biden to take a good look at somebody like a Senator Kamala Harris.
Absolutely.
Kamala Harris, I think would do a remarkable job as a vice president. I think she would do a great job as a president. And I think in our history, we've only had 2 African-American females that have achieved the level of senator in this country. And she's one of them. So she is a living unicorn. And I think she would be a phenomenal pick. And I think she will do a phenomenal job. And I think it's important that we communicate that to Joe Biden, that if that's important to you as an individual, but as African Americans, I think it's important that we raise our voices and be very clear that she's our pick or someone like her is our pick. We need to lead them there and say, you have our support if you take care of this. I think it's important as African Americans that we always have an agenda, like everybody else, a political agenda. And I think we need to be clear about that political agenda. Personally, my political agenda at this point is that he picks an African American female as his vice president, ideally Senator Kamala Harris. That's my personal pick.
That's one of my 3 asks. One of my 3 asks is that he has a Black woman running mate. I would love for it to be Senator Kamala Harris. My other is a more comprehensive Black agenda that covers economics and criminal justice reform. And he's already committed to putting a Black woman on the Supreme Court. So if he can embrace those 3 things, I'm for it.
I'm right there with him.
But we should ask for something for our vote, though. Vote's a quid pro quo.
Always. You have to have an agenda, and it's okay to have an agenda. That's why if DC is full of lobbyists, and those lobbyists are running around carrying out the agendas of corporations and certain communities, and you have to do the same thing.
Now, Byron, what do you tell like our community now? Because they seem like they're opening up the states where we live, Atlanta, open it up and you see how people heading out. Florida, they open it up, you see how people heading out to the beaches. What do you tell our people right now? Like, should we listen to the government or fall back a little bit? Let's see what the other people do first.
It's like my grandmother would say, you have to listen to your common sense, use your common sense. I think looking at the numbers, not having all the information, I think it would be very smart to stay home if you can and really protect yourself. And I would say stay home. Don't follow at this point other people's advice. You know what to do. And you're a lot safer at home. Protect yourself and protect your family. Just stay home. This is something we don't know a lot about this. And they're talking about not coming up with a vaccine until the end of next year. And who knows, even if they come up with one, you may not feel comfortable using the vaccine. But until we know a lot more, stay safe.
Right.
That's just, as my grandmother would say, that's just common sense, boy.
And Byron, too, you're a little bit more politically sophisticated than a lot of people because you do use your money to help fund campaigns for candidates, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then
I don't know if I'm more sophisticated than most, but yeah, I try and help financially whenever I can.
Well, I mean, I'm saying as far as the Black community, because you're able to make legislative demands because you are putting money in these people's campaigns.
Yes. Yeah.
And I guarantee that you never put money down without asking for something in return.
Oh, I'm very clear about my ask. I'm very clear that there are things that I want to see happen, especially in the Black community. I mean, one of the things that, we're doing here with this special is we're asking that people can lean in, even if you can't donate to Feeding America. And the website is feedingamerica.org/Comedy Fest. But even if you can't donate, I think it's important to lean in on your politicians and say, hey, politician, I need you to lean in and campaign with the United States government to include these food banks in the multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package. They're putting out over almost $4 trillion at this point. Make sure 10, 20, $30 billion is going to the food banks. We need that going to the food banks. The other thing is we need to lean in on our politicians and say, you need to provide more support to SNAP. Now, for some folks out there, SNAP, that's basically considered, almost the modern day version of food stamps, but it's not stamps, it's a debit card, and you go into a supermarket and you get a debit and you can go buy, food. The problem with SNAP, some of it, the most you can get is $4 a day. And they have ridiculous restrictions on there, like women can't even buy feminine hygiene products. Well, that's insane. You need to now increase SNAP to $20 a day, no restrictions other than maybe, we should have restrictions. You are not going to pay for your alcohol and your cigarettes. But other than that, go into the supermarket and get what you need. And that way, a single mother of two can go into the supermarket and get $60 a day worth of food. Now, if you talk to these food banks, they really can't, they're not equipped to handle millions and millions of people to show up at their door at the same time. They would rather see the United States government increase SNAP, take off the restrictions, and send people to the supermarket. Now, if 100 million people took advantage of SNAP at $20 a day, that would be $2 billion a day. That's what that would be, $2 billion a day. That'd be $60 billion a month. And over the next 3 months, that'd be only $180 billion out of $4 trillion. So that right there takes away the lines. You don't see people in their cars for 8 hours trying to get a box of food. If the United States government is truly sincere about making sure we're good, just wake up, wave your magic wand and say, SNAP is in place. It's 20 a day per person, per household, right? And I don't even see 100 million people using it, but let's say 200 million people use it. 2/3 of our nation. Well, guess what? That right there is 120 billion a month, and over 3 months, that's only $360 billion out of $4 billion. And I believe the first thing we have to do is make sure every person in this country has access to food, and we don't have any food insecurity. So let's address SNAP. And we, as a people, can lean on our politicians and say, hey, no excuses, no ifs, ands, or buts. I need you to make sure that we have plenty of support for SNAP, and every person in this country has access to food at the supermarket. That right there is a game changer. And I'm sitting here going, you guys are passing out $4 trillion. Why are we still short on SNAP? And you guys are passing out $4 trillion. How come these food banks are still in need of money? And Americans, we can't have that, because the moment the wheels come off the bus and we don't have a pathway to our next meal, unfortunately, I think we're going to see a lot of riots and violence out there on the street. That's when the wheels come off the bus. And that's when the military comes out, and things will never be the same. We must keep the wheels on the bus by simply making sure everybody is fed and has access to food 24/7. These are important steps. And everybody out there can put pressure on their politicians to say, I need you to lean in on this and make sure we and our fellow Americans are fed. And that's never an issue.
How do you do that? How do you lean into your politicians? How should a person who's not doing what you do, which is fun campaigns, just a regular everyday guy in the hood or girl in the hood, how do they leverage their vote? How do they lean into politicians?
Call their Congress, call their representatives, call their senators, call their Congress people, call them, campaign, reach out to, to the federal government, but really reach out to Congress and senators. You have your senators, you have your Congress people, reach out to them, email them, call them, make sure this is important. Say, I
show
need
up at
you
their
to
office.
focus on SNAP. I'm sorry?
You can show up at their office.
Say,
but
look,
what do you
I
say
need
to
you
them,
to
though?
make sure.
Should you say to them, look, if you want me to vote for you.
Let's talk. Yes. You want me to vote for you. You have to get in there and you need to address SNAP. And you need to make sure SNAP is properly funded. Because if SNAP is properly funded, we now have debit cards out there where families can go into the supermarket and have access to food, and it helps the entire ecosystem, helps the supermarket chain, it helps all the farmers and people who provide food to the supermarket chains. We have to fix SNAP immediately, and we need to know the details of SNAP. We need to know, well, what's going on, and why is it $4 a day, or whatever the number is, because it's constantly changing, and what are the restrictions, and why are those restrictions there? We need to be vigilant about that because the resources are there. The question is, will the resources be allocated in a way where we're all protected?
Right.
All
right. Well, thank you for joining us, Byron Allen. We appreciate it. We're all going to be tuning in this weekend.
Yeah, and we got to thank Byron too,
Sunday
man.
Night.
No, Sunday night. Yeah.
Sunday night at 7 p.m. And we're going to get our laughs on.
And we got to thank Byron too. Byron made a generous donation to our Change for Change.
Sure.
Yeah, nice little 100 stack, and that went to the Thurgood Marshall College Foundation for HBCUs. So thank you, Byron.
Thank you. Really appreciate you. Thank you.
And he did it on a rush. He did it on a snap card too.
That I didn't do.
Thank you, brother.
Right. It's Byron Allen. This is Breakfast Club. Good morning.